Our story begins far, far from here, with our forefather Abraham, who lived with his family in Haran. Now one day God appeared to him and commanded him, "Go forth from your native land and from your father's house to the land that I will show you." Abraham took his wife Sarah and his nephew Lot, and off they went to the land of Canaan, the promised land. For 3 generations the family lived in Canaan, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, and Jacob with Rachel and Leah. Jacob had 12 sons, whose descendants became the 12 tribes of the Israelite nation. Jacob's favourite son was little Joseph, who would have dreams in which he was the ruler. All of his brothers envied him, so much so that they did a terrible thing. They sold him as a slave to a caravan of traders who were heading for Egypt, just to get rid of him. But in Egypt, Joseph's fortunes changed. Joseph saved Egypt during the years of famine, and thus rose to prominence. And then, as fate would have it, all of Joseph's brothers came to live under his patronage. The children of Israel lived in Egypt for a long time, almost 400 years, and for most of that time they were, in fact, slaves. Their slavery was harsh, but it became even harsher when Pharaoh issued a terrible decree to throw all the male infants into the Nile. And when all appeared lost, a baby was born, named Moses, and he was adopted by Pharaoh's daughter. When Moses grew up, God appeared to him and appointed him as leader. It was Moses who took Israel out of Egypt. It was not easy to take Israel out of Egypt, but in the end Pharaoh broke down and simply wanted to rid himself of those Hebrews. Ultimately, we left Egypt, and then we began our journey, that of the children of Israel in the wilderness, the journey to the land of Canaan. It was a long journey, lasting 40 years. On the way, the children of Israel received the Torah, but not everything went so smoothly. Oh, there were bitter complaints, and sins as well. In the end, after all the troubles and the wanderings, after 40 years in the desert, the children of Israel arrived at the land of Canaan. They said goodbye to Moses, who remained at Mount Nebo, and entered the land of Israel with Joshua, the new leader. But it didn't end here. The children of Israel had to settle themselves in Canaan. They had to conquer the land and divide it up among the tribes. And then began the problems, the enemies, the wars. The tribes called to God for help, and each time he would send a leader to save them until the next time. But this didn't work so well, because the people wanted a permanent arrangement. The people wanted a king. And that's how the period of the kings began. Saul was the first king. Following him came David, the one from the song, David, Melech Israel, that little redhead, who beat the giant Goliath. After him came his son Solomon, who was the wisest of all men. He built a large kingdom, and more importantly, he built the temple in Jerusalem, the capital city. But Solomon sinned and was punished, and the one to pay the price was his son. As for the kingdom, it split into 2, the kingdom of Israel and the kingdom of Judah. During that period, the region was controlled by the Assyrian Empire, and everybody had to pay taxes to them. And if someone didn't want to, well, those who didn't pay taxes were rebels against the empire and were taking a risk. And that's what the kingdom of Israel did. When the great king of Assyria came, he destroyed everything and sent the residents of Israel into exile. The kingdom of Judah remained alone. Then the Assyrian Empire lost its power, and now the Babylonians ruled the region, but things remained as they were. The kingdom of Judah rebelled against the Babylonian king, and it cost them dearly. Exile to Babylon, and the destruction of the temple. And so, by the rivers of Babylon, we sat and wept as we remembered Zion. Almost 70 years passed. Once again, empire succeeded empire, and this time a Persian king arrived, named Cyrus. He was the new ruler of the region. In a declaration known as the Cyrus Proclamation, he permitted the Jewish exiles to return to their land, that is, the land of Canaan. One part of the nation decided to return to Israel, and they built the Second Temple. The other part remained in exile in Persia. People like Mordecai the Jew, the one from the Purim story, remember? Since then, many things have occurred. The Tanakh has ended, but the story of the Jewish people still goes on.